Welcome back everyone, my name is Lee for Lily's Kitchen. Today we're making homemade vanilla slice. So today we're making vanilla slice and it's found absolutely everywhere in Australia, in every single town, every single bakery, and there's a bunch of different names for it. So it's called vanilla slice, it's called custard slice, and it's also called snap blocks. If you're from here, you'd know that term. And it is so easy to do. You're going to use puff pastry from the supermarket and just a bunch of simple ingredients, and it's going to turn out really good. So you could make this as simple as you want. So if your kids want to make it, all you'd need is some puff pastry, some custard powder, and some milk, and you could make up a thick custard and just do it that way. We're going to do it properly and make a really good custard for this, so it's just deliciously indulgent. So for today's recipe, I'm using Donna Hay's recipe as a guide, and then I've changed it up a little bit. If you're from Australia, you would notice that eggs are now the new toilet paper. They are a commodity, and you need to make sure you have them stocked because supermarkets seem to be running out all the bloody time. So this is where I've actually changed the recipe because she uses 6 egg yolks. I'm going to use 3 egg yolks, and I've increased the cornstarch a little bit to compensate for that. So firstly, you're going to need some puff pastry. So this is just store-bought puff pastry. Use whatever you can afford. You can get the all butter one from the supermarket. This one's got palm oil on it. I'm completely fine with palm oil, so I'm just going to use that today, but use what you can actually afford. And then what we're going to need is a cup and a half of cream, cup and a half of milk. So if you have half and half, you could just use 3 cups of half and half. We've got the 3 egg yolks. We've got half a cup of cornflour, 3/4 of a cup of caster sugar, 60 grams of butter, and 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. That's it, pretty easy. So first I'm just going to get my oven preheating to 180 degrees Celsius, and that's 350 degrees Fahrenheit. So for the next step, you're going to need 2 large baking trays. Ones that can be put on top of each other. So I've got these 2 here. We're going to have to do this in stages because I've only got 2 large baking trays. So what we're going to do is we're going to line the bottom of our tray with greaseproof paper. Then we're going to grab our puff pastry, and then we're going to lay that onto the tray. Then we're going to grab another piece of parchment paper, or greaseproof paper. We're going to put that on top. And then this tray is going to sit on top of this as well. And what that's going to do is it's going to compress the puff pastry down and make sure it stays nice and flat. Now we're going to bake this at 180 degrees for 20 to 25 minutes until the pastry is nice and golden, and then we'll crack on to the next step. So while those are baking, we're going to start making the custard. And there's a bunch of ways you can make the custard. This is just the way I like doing it, so that's the way I'm going to do it today. But if you have a certain way you like making custard, go for it. So in a saucepan, we're going to grab our cream, so 1.5 cups of cream. Our 60 grams of butter. And we're just going to start gently just heating that through while we get the other ingredients just combined. So in a separate bowl, we're just going to separate our eggs. Now, don't waste these. Put them into a Ziploc bag, put them in your freezer, and you can save them for something like meringues or something like that. To this, we're going to add our 2 teaspoons of vanilla. 1, 2, no one measures that. Then we've got our 2/3 cup of caster sugar. I'm going to add that one. And now I'm just going to stir this together. Until all the granules have disappeared. Now all that has combined. Now we're going to add our 1.5 cups of milk to it. And this is the easy way just to temper eggs so you don't have scrambled eggs when you go to add it to the cream. Now that cream and butter has heated through, now we can add our eggs gently. And because it's such a large amount, you're not going to have any issues with it scrambling or anything like that. If you've got a little bit stuck in the bottom here, pour a bit back. And now we're going to get this back onto the stove. So while that's heating, in the same Pyrex jug, I'm just going to add our cornflour. So 1/2 cup of cornflour there. And then I'm going to add just enough water just to turn that into a slurry, which will add to the custard as well. So I just added about 1/4 cup of water to this. And get this dissolved, and then we'll add that to the custard as well. So while this is heating through, we're just going to add our cornflour slurry. While this is heating up, you want to just make sure you're constantly just keeping an eye on it, because once this mixture comes up to a certain temperature, that cornflour will thicken almost instantly and it will turn out so thick. If you need to as well, just grab a spatula and just go around the edges of your pot. Make sure nothing is stuck in the corners of your pot while you're using the whisk. I can feel it just gently just thickening up now. And this is just on a medium-low heat. You don't want to take it too high, or else you do risk scorching your saucepan. Okay, so in the last 20 seconds, this starts to really thicken up. This is where you need to start to really just watch it. All right, so this is now cooked now, nice and thick now. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to let this cool down slightly. And once our puff pastry is out the oven and cooled down, we will start to assemble it. So I've just pulled the first puff pastry out of the oven. You can see it is nice and flat, which is great. Just make sure you do rotate your trays a little bit in your oven, just because there is hot spots, and you can see there was a bit of a hot spot in certain spots in my oven. So I'm going to take this way out carefully. I'm going to put this aside, and then straight away we're going to get this other one on. Just use the same parchment paper, and then we're going to put that other tray back on top, and we're going to bake this one again for about 20 minutes. Just make sure you can turn it around once in the oven, and then once this comes out, we are ready to assemble. Just to encourage your custard to cool a little bit, just give it a really good stir every now and then. And you can see all that steam coming off it. And that's just going to help it cool down a lot quicker. This will set properly in the actual fridge. I'm going to cut up the puff pastry into its portions already. So when I lay it out on the tray, I don't have to try and cut through this puff pastry and risk squishing everything. So I've just got a sharp knife here. There we go. All right, we're gonna let these cool down completely and then we're gonna assemble it. Please excuse the cats in the background. It's winter now and they want to go outside all the time, and then as soon as they go outside, they notice it's freezing cold. So they want to come back in. That's been going on all day. So now we're ready to assemble the vanilla slice. So this is the tray I'm going to be using today. You want to be using a square baking pan, but I don't have one, so make do. But I actually had a good idea, so I've got this bread loaf pan. I stick it right there. And then when I put my parchment paper or greaseproof paper in here, I've basically just got a new wall for the whole pan. So now we're ready to assemble. So I'm going to grab our sheet of puff pastry. And yes, it is a bit more fiddly now because I have cut it. You can cut it after if you really want to. I just don't like the idea of just squashing it all. I'm going to try and cut it after. Okay, now that's in there. Now we're going to spread our custard. And I've tried it, it tastes amazing. We're just going to move it to the edges a little bit. And then we're going to put our squares on top. Just put just a little bit of pressure on. Just encourage that custard to fill all the space around it. Now I'm going to put this into the fridge, let it completely set. So now the custard has set, so now we've got a choice of doing two things. We can either dust a little bit of icing sugar on top and call it done, or we can do what most of them have, is a layer of icing on top. Now the ones at the shop usually have such a huge thick layer of icing, it's kind of gross. I just want a thin layer just so I get that icing on it, but not overkill. So I'm going to do a small bit of icing, spread it on top, put it back in the fridge, let it set, and then we're ready to serve. And then I've just got some icing sugar here. It's been a while since I've used icing sugar. And then all I'm going to do is I'm just going to add just a little bit of milk to this. Make sure all these lumps are gone. And then I'm just going to spread this onto the vanilla slice. All right, now I'm going to get this back into the fridge, let it set, and then we're going to try it out for dessert. All right, so now we're ready to dig into this and try it out. Doesn't that look good? That looks amazing, actually. So let's try this out. I know it's not going to be sickly sweet like the ones from the supermarket, which is fantastic because I don't like a ton of sugar. That is so good. And it's not too sweet. It's just perfect. My only thing would be, I would love to put those extra 3 egg yolks into this to make it a lot more thicker. But other than that, it tastes bloody amazing. So if you want to try this iconic Australian dessert, give it a go. It's pretty easy. So if you like this video, don't forget to give it a good like. And if you want to see more, don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching. Bye.